Welcome to the Career Changemaker podcast, where we focus on owning your career journey and making impact through the work that you do. Whether you're looking to pivot, transition into leadership, or reimagine your career completely, this podcast is for you. We'll unpack career development strategies, leadership insights, and the mindset shifts needed to thrive in your career. Being a career changemaker means taking control and shaping your professional path with intention. I'm your host, lawyer turned career and leadership development specialist, Janine Esbrand. So if you're ready for candid conversations that are going to help you grow, keep listening. Hello, and welcome to the show. If you are someone who is really good at setting goals, but find it more challenging to actually make them a reality, I want you to lean in to today's episode because I'm going to be talking about closing the gap between goal setting and actually achieving your career goals. The reason I want to talk about this is because it's the end of January. This is the time where people start to fall off those New Year's resolutions, fall off those really clear intentions that they set for themselves, that vision that they had, the goal that they set. It doesn't seem as urgent or as exciting anymore because you may not be gaining the amount of traction that you want to gain towards making it a reality. So I want to highlight why it is that people struggle to close that gap and what you can be doing to mitigate the risk of you just having the goal sitting there, floating there for the rest of the year and not actually moving towards it. I've had a number of conversations recently that made me realize that this is an area that we can really lean into and talk about here on the podcast, because if my clients are facing these challenges, it's likely that you are too if you're listening to this episode. So let's talk about it. Once you're able to get to the place where you know what it is that you want, setting the goal can be the bit that feels exciting. It's like, right, I know what I want. Here's what I have identified, and I'm going to put my stake in the ground and say that this is what I'm moving towards. After that point, moving into action to the point where you're able to achieve the goal, that's where there's challenges for people. And I was really reflecting and thinking about why is it that there are some people who set goals and achieve them and make it happen with a level of intensity, with a level of speed and efficiency. And then there's others who struggle, who hit bumps in the road and then don't move forward. And I've identified that there's one area that I think is really holding a lot of people back. And that is having a lack of structure when it comes to executing. And the lack of structure comes for a few reasons. One is that there is so much noise out there and there are so many different ways for you to achieve what it is that you're trying to achieve. So when you scroll LinkedIn or you go on social media, you might be on YouTube, you might be on Instagram, wherever it is that you're scrolling, you're hearing people share their opinions as if it is fact, right? I did it this way, so you must do it this way. I've seen it done this way, so you must do it that way. And when you're hearing lots of different voices, and sometimes those voices are competing, it gets overwhelming in terms of the amount of information that you're taking in, and then it gets confusing. And when we get confused, we freeze. When our minds are confused, we don't take action. So it's like, oh, somebody said that I should be going in this industry because this is growing, or I should be focused on AI or where I can grow because AI is taking over, or I should be focused here because this is my skill set, or I should be focused here because this is what I'm passionate about. And so the idea that you can go in lots of different directions means that people get confused and then they don't take action towards the vision that they set. And then the other thing that comes up with the structure is sometimes people are taking action. They've chosen a path and they're saying, okay, I can see where I'm trying to get to and I'm going down this path to get there. But when they're taking the action, they're not realizing that they're either skipping steps or they're doing things in the wrong order. And when you're doing the right things in the wrong order, it feels as though you're not doing the right thing. Let me say that again. When you're doing the right things in the wrong order, it feels as though you're not doing the right thing because you're not getting the results. So the thing about having structure is it's not just about putting together any random plan. It's making sure that you're taking the right actions in the right order to get you to the result that you want to get to. Sometimes we can just be taking action, but it might not necessarily be the right action for the goal that you have set and the time frame that you set it in, the context in which you are applying it, because you are who you are with the skill set that you have and the background that you have. So this is why when I first start working with clients inside of my one-to-one coaching program, we spend a lot of time focused on what it is they want and why they want it in this season of their life. What do you actually want and what does it look like? Getting very specific on what it is that you're trying to achieve, because the structure that you put in place should be heavily influenced by the goal that you have. So you want to be starting with the end in mind and really thinking about, well, if this is where I'm trying to get to, what steps do I need to take in order to get there? And if you've ever come to one of our pause and plan sessions that I run on a monthly basis, you will know that I talk a lot about the 90-day plan and really thinking about where I'm trying to get to in the end and then working backwards from there. And the work that I do with clients is really about making sure that they are setting the right goal for them, and then they are on the right path for them. Here's an example of what I've seen come up quite a few times where people are busy. They are busy. They are doing stuff. They're not being lazy. They're not just waiting for things to happen. They're out there taking action, but because they're not focused in the right way, they're spinning their wheels. So let me give you this example. I've seen this happen quite a few times. When someone is looking for their next opportunity, so they are looking to land their next role, whether that is outside of their organization and doing a lateral move, or they're looking to get promoted, they're looking to move up, the person is taking action in that they are putting themselves out there. They are sending the CV or the resume. They are having all the conversations. They are doing the networking. They're doing what needs to be done in order for them to get to the interview stage and hopefully secure the offer. And they may be putting out a lot of applications. So you're putting out a lot of applications. Some of them are landing in interviews. You're then having the interviews, first round, second round. Maybe you get all the way to the third round interview and then you don't get hired. So that's frustrating. So then what happens is you think, okay, I need to, because I'm getting through some of them and I'm not getting through to the last round, I need to do more applications because it's a numbers game. The more applications I submit, the more I'm going to convert, because there's a certain percentage that are converting into interviews. And then the more interviews I do, eventually one's going to land. And yes, broadly speaking, that is true. It is a numbers game when it comes to applications. However, you also want to be diagnosing the actual problem right now, because if you come to me and you say to me, I have been doing lots of applications and some of those applications are leading to interviews, but when I get to the interview, I'm not getting the offer, then I immediately know that the issue is not your applications. The issue is not your applications, because if your applications were the issue, you wouldn't be getting any interviews. So now if you're getting interviews, but you're not getting offers, the issue is your interview technique. So rather than thinking, I need to go and do lots more applications because I need to get a role, you realize that in this whole chain of events, in this whole sequence of applications, the place that is broken is the interviews. So then that allows you to take a lot of the time and energy that you're putting into just doing more and more applications and redirect that to honing your interview technique and really figuring out, where is it that I am not articulating my value? Where is it that I am not fully demonstrating that I am a good fit for their organization? Where is it that I am leaving question marks in their minds and not making them think that this person is absolutely who I need to hire? So the work and the busyness can be redirected from doing more applications and instead focused on improving interview techniques. So then you're going to increase the number of offers you're going to be getting, not because you're putting more in on the front end, as in putting more applications out there, but because you're improving your success rate of your interviews, right? So it's important that you're not diagnosing the wrong problem. In that scenario, if you are just like, okay, my problem is I need to do more applications, that's not really the problem. That's not really the problem. So you can be spending a lot of time doing more applications and you're going to keep falling down at the interview stage because you haven't solved for the actual issue, which is I'm not fully articulating the value of what I bring to the table in a way that they need to hear it. And so that's where the work needs to be. Whenever I've done this inside of coaching with clients, they're able to realize that actually, this is the area that I need to work on. So then our structure for them and our plan for them is very much focused on that versus trying to focus on all of the things all at the same time, which is what a lot of people do. So if you find yourself in a space where you're doing the same thing over and over again and you're not getting the result that you want, it is an indication that you need to pause. You need to pause and you need to audit what are you doing and what does the data tell you about what is not working. What does the data tell you? You know, I take a data-driven approach to career transitions and figuring out how you're going to move into where you want to move to. There are clues and there is data everywhere. So what does the data tell you about where you need to double down and focus? And then that is where you need to spend your time and energy. And that's going to allow you to not burn out, not be doing all of the things and feeling deflated because you're not moving forward. And instead, it's going to allow you to close that gap between the goal that you set and then what it is that you want to do. The clients that I work with who are really, really focused on the areas that they need to work on and that are aware of where they excel and where their weaknesses are, those are the clients that are often in the position where they land roles either quickly or they have multiple offers on the table because they recognize where it is that they need to do the work. And it's not easy. It's not easy to always figure that out for yourself, especially when there's a lot going on and you're trying to just do the work. You're trying to just take action to move forward. And that's why it's really beneficial to work with a coach. That's why it's really beneficial to have an external third party that can look at your situation through a very objective lens and who's able to use a framework and use the structure that has been used with lots of clients in the past to help you to move forward. So, you know, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women around the world on career transitions in various different ways. So when you come to me with a challenge, it's likely that I've seen it before, right? It's likely that I've seen it before and I've worked through this with people before. And so I'm able to give you guidance based on past experience personally and also past experience that I've seen with various clients that I've worked with. So then it's about saying, what is the thing? What is the thing that we need to do that is going to move the needle to move you towards actually achieving your goals? And once you get there, once you achieve it, it is so nice. It feels so sweet to be in a space where it's like, yes, I saw the vision. I set the goal for that. And now I actually am living that out. An example of how that's worked for me is when I set my vision for moving into my business full time. So I had a portfolio career for a long time and I was at the stage where I wanted to move into my business full time. And I remember sitting down, writing in my blue journal what my ideal day would look like. So here's what my day looked like. It looked like starting my day with my children, doing the school run, and then going to the gym, doing a workout, getting to my desk at 10 o'clock. And then at 10 o'clock, I would have a coaching session with somebody in the morning, and then I'd have lunch, and then I would maybe spend some time creating some content for the podcast or social media. And then in the afternoon, I'd be working on my next presentation that I would be doing for some kind of organization. That was the day. And then I would pick my kids up and I'd have dinner and I'd put them to bed and then I'd spend time with my husband, and that was my whole day. And I remember when I wrote that out as my ideal work day, when I was still, juggling multiple things in terms of work, it felt very far removed. It felt like, oh, that would be lovely. That would be great if I was in a position where I had a steady flow of clients, where I had corporate clients I was working with. That would be wonderful. But it didn't feel like it was actually like tangible, like touchable. I could do that. It was very much like a one day I'd love to type scenario, right? I'm writing in my journal. And I remember a couple years after that point, I had to move offices and I was packing everything up and I came across this journal and I read through the journal and I read through that entry where I was talking about what I would like my ideal day to look like. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away because I was like, wait, I literally lived that day yesterday. I literally lived that day yesterday. Completely had forgotten about what I'd written 2 years prior. But I was living it out. Why was I living it out? I was living it out because from when I set that vision, I went on a mission to figure out what steps did I need to take in order for this to become a reality. And one of those things One of the things that I did was hire a coach. I worked with her for her to figure out what was the path for me in order for me to be able to get my business to where I could be doing it full time. And I could have figured it out myself over time, but it would have taken me a lot longer, right? I had already been doing some trial and error stuff that wasn't quite coming together. And so having the guidance from someone who had a proven framework really, really helped, because then I just knew what I needed to do. And I knew that if I took the steps that were laid out before me, it would lead me to the vision that I had, right? Because I had seen that had been done before and it was possible. That was my experience of recognizing that there was a gap between my vision and bringing it into fruition and making it a reality, and really being focused on what is the needle mover, what is the structure, what is the focus, what do I actually need to be doing, because I could be doing a lot of things, but what do I actually need to be doing in order for it to happen. And that's why I get excited, when I'm working with clients, because I've seen it for myself, I've seen it for other clients, I've seen what can happen when you decide to get the support, decide to invest in yourself, get the support that you need so you can accelerate your progress. And it's not only about moving faster, right? It's not only about getting to the destination quicker. It's also about the energy that you save, right? The amount of energy it takes to be going back and forth and round, you save that. It's about the peace that you have, just knowing that I'm doing the right things in the right order, so I don't need to stress and second guess myself. It's about who you become as a person when you are dedicated and committed to a path, and you do what you say you're going to do because you said you're going to do it, right? You're not procrastinating, you're not doubting yourself, you're not going back and forth. You've made a commitment, you've made a decision, and someone is holding you accountable, and you get to move forward. I'm making an invitation today to you, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, yes, I haven't been moving towards the goal, or I don't even know what the structure needs to be, I would love to support you. Head over to careerchangemakers.com/clarity call. Book a call with me and we will walk through where you're at. I want to understand where you're at, what's going on for you, what your goals are, and I'll be able to tell you whether this program can really help you to move towards that. So you're going to walk away with clarity around what your next best step needs to be, whether that is working with me or whether that is going to find support in another space. You're going to understand what is going to be required in order for you to get to what your goal is. So book a call. careerchangemakers.com/career clarity, and let's get you moving forward. We are rounding out January, and January is that month that is really long and drawn out, and then once January goes, the year just starts picking up speed and momentum. So I want you to be moving towards your goals this year. So careerchangemakers.com/clarity call. Book a call, let's chat, let's support you in closing this gap. I really want you to close the gap between the goals that you have and actually achieving them. So I hope that this episode has been useful. If it has, share it with a friend, leave us a rating and review, and I hope to speak to you on a clarity call very, very soon. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep moving towards your career goals.